So much, folks. Thank you for being here with us. Really, such a powerful film. The horrors of war and the inhumanity impacts all sides and impacts Israeli society in a very deep way. I'm proud to invite, first of all, the moderator of the conversation, Tamara Gayer, who is one of our partners on this festival and a major activist in terms of Israelis in New York and works for a better Israel. And please welcome the director of the film, Nurit Kedar.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Nurit, and thank you everyone for being here. So just to start a teeny bit about Nurit, she's made many, many documentaries and has won many prizes. I will tell you about some of them because they are too multiple to remember by heart. The Art of Cinema Award by the Israeli Ministry of Culture, the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Israeli Academy of Film and Television, the Lear Group Foundation Award for Best Documentary for the film Life Sentences at the Jerusalem Festival. That same film also won the Objectif d'Or Grand Award and the Audience Award at the Millennium Film Festival. Her film Schoolyard won an award at the Jerusalem Festival and at the Pre-Med Festival, and Concrete won the Spirit of Freedom at the Jerusalem Festival. And all of her films have been aired on Israeli television and also on many networks throughout Europe, including Arte, ARD, VPRO, Canal Plus, NHAK, Multicanal Spain, RAI in Italy, Palante in France, and that's just to name a few. So I'm so honored to be in conversation here with Nurit.
Thank you.
So Nurit, in preparation for this, I was watching some clips of you, and I watched this amazing interview talking about another film you made in 2014. And you're talking about Israeli soldiers. In that case, it was young men, and you say, you know, they're just children. They're kind of born into this, inculcated into certain ideologies, and whether good or bad, you know, they go into war and they kill people, and it takes them years to even process what they've done, and the impacts on their lives are deep and not entirely charted. So this film actually seems to be really a solid part of your work, not just an exception. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the sweep of your work that brought you up to the moment that you made this film?
Of this film?
Yeah, or just a little background
Okay.
about how you're the person who made this film.
I think that because years ago, I used to work for our commercial channel, Channel 2 in Israel, in the news department. Later on, before that, I worked for CNN as their producer in Jerusalem. So I think that being involved in news, that's what brings me the topics of the films that I deal with. And I know that most of my films deals with war, our war, which is, you know, it's ongoing. But there are always stories that are not, they're not told by anyone, not the newspaper, not the news. So that's where I dig them. And for example, like a former film of mine, Concrete, was on one of the Israeli operations in Gaza that soldiers were not allowed to bring inside telephones or anything, so it was like nobody knew what's going on over there. The name of the operation was Castlid, if you remember. So it took me almost 2 years to find soldiers that were willing to come forward and tell what they really experienced in Gaza. So that was one part. Now to this film, I think it was around 8 months into the war. By the way, from day one, I was looking to do something. I couldn't stay away from what's going on. And then I saw in the newspaper, there came out an article saying that there are more than 10,000 soldiers that were seeking mental help. So it's like I read it and I said, what? And where are the women soldiers? Because that was the first time since 48 that women were recruited. And I know the numbers, that more than 30,000 women were recruited. So where are they? And I made some phone calls to all kind of connections inside the army, and they told me that already they have more than 1,000 women who asked for help, mental help. And so I said, okay, now I'm going to do a story about those women. And I must tell you that the production company, Castina, they came with me right away in the first moment. And Channel 11, which is our public broadcasting, just a moment it took them to decide that they are coming. Before I had the girls, but the subject was so important. Now getting the girls, somebody helped me with social media. I wrote a post saying that my name is Nurit Kedar, I am a director. I'm looking for soldiers, women, who can tell me anything emotional. I didn't say trauma, I didn't mention any PTSD, nothing. And I got 17 names with phone numbers, with their job in the army, what did they do. I started to call all of them, and some of them said they work in places that I knew that I couldn't get any permit, like they work in the police or they work at the defense ministry, so you can't get them. And I stayed with 10 girls, which I met first time. I didn't do any research, just the producers invite them to the day of shooting, and that's where I met them for the first time. And two of the girls, they said mentally they are not prepared to do it, it's too heavy for them. So I stayed with 7, which were amazing. And the story broke up. I mean, I think that when I start filming, then came another story that there are already 4,000 women, soldiers, who asked for mental help. All the women in the film are, they have private psychological help, because the army they don't have enough people to treat soldiers. Either it's boys or girls, they don't have enough. So now they accepted that they'll take private treatment and they'll pay it. I'm in very good, I talk with the girls a lot, I meet them a lot. I think they took it very hard when the first time when I showed them alone. It was very hard for them to watch it. And on the premiere that we did closely to their families and to them, it was amazing. The audience accepted, and stood on their feet and they applauded, because they're really great coming forward, telling such a story.
Well, you've answered about 4 of my questions in advance, so thank you. But except for working directly with these women, I know you did a lot of research. Research about PTSD, but also female PTSD. And maybe you can talk a little bit about where that stands in Israel and where you had to go look.
Up to now, there is not even one work on PTSD in women, in soldiers. I mean warriors, female warriors. And So it took me, I understood that I have to look through the internet, start reading what is the PTSD, what is the difference between women to men. And there are a lot of works that were done on women soldiers from Afghanistan, from Iraq, and I learned a lot. Then I called some people in Israel. They know the numbers, they know the stories, but there is not even one work, nothing, up to today. And that's where I found in the research that has been done on American soldiers from Afghanistan and Iraq that PTSD in women are twice bigger than in men. And 5 out of 10 will get PTSD. 5 women out of 10 women will get PTSD. That's the main. And there is a lot of, I think, the men and women are not the same, as we are. And that's why men react differently while experiencing PTSD than women. But I didn't speak with the women especially on their PTSD. I didn't want to get into it because I'm not in this, I don't deal with it. And I didn't want to know where they live or if they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I wasn't interested, nothing. Just tell me the story of your experience in Gaza and Lebanon. That's what I was.
And do you think, even anecdotally, that this process contributed to their healing in some way? I know that's not the goal of the film, but...
I don't know, but I believe that they came in the right moment to tell the story. Because when I met their parents at the premiere, the parents told me that they didn't know anything at all. So...
And I understand that the process is in some way more a question of raising the issue and exposing something that maybe society isn't looking at. So can you talk a little bit more, not only about the reception in Israel, but how you feel this relates to the Israeli understanding of PTSD? And if you think it's there to move something or just commemorate it?
I think that now, really, nowadays, it's not women. You read a lot of stories in the newspaper and on the news, on television, and you get to see men, very young men, and lately came a number of more than 60 made suicide. So it's a huge number. And that's the price of the war. Who needs this war? I don't know. And so that's the price that the women pay as well.
Yeah, and we know, at least in American culture, we have some inkling of how heavy that price is. At this point, through many, many wars, it's something that's discussed here, and there are not so many films about it over there. So are you expecting a different kind of reaction here? There's some things that maybe from an American perspective seem strange. For example, they really acknowledge the personal damage, that they can't deal with it, that they're definitely not doing their job well, but they go back.
They go back because, what can I tell you? It's part of the motivation and part of being Israeli.
No, go ahead.
And I can't say anything because they keep telling me we are now in Gaza again. 3 of the women they just left Gaza a week ago, and they served more than 500 days. So I'm not the one to tell them to go or not to go, although they are treated, and that's their motivation. But I know when I interviewed them, they told me that there is no way that they wouldn't go. It's not a question.
And then just one last question to close us off. So as someone who's in America and is seeing very, very different news than people are seeing in Israel, when we think of the horrors of Gaza, you know, of course, those of us who are Israelis are thinking about Israeli society, but we see so many, especially children, and only one of them sort of alludes to it very, very gently, that there's something else except for Israeli soldiers coming back wounded and dead. How do you explain that?
No, I don't have any explanation. I think that to watch horror of war is not easy for anyone. Personally, okay, I feel very bad watching the stories from Gaza. But I'm in the minority because most of the people in Israel after October 7 became much, much more radical, much, much more. So if I'll say one word on occupation back from 67, my children will not speak to me. And I have a daughter, and she goes to all the demonstrations. And from the October 7, she joined Soldiers for Peace, and she brought food and everything to every place. But when we spoke, and I said, you know, everything started from the occupation, from 67, she said, don't mention it, that's it. And it's very hard to make any dialogue in Israel, believe me, any dialogue. Because if you'll say that you are against the war, you are I'm against Israel, or I'm against something, or I don't know. So it's very hard to say anything. And that's what happened to the majority people of Israel. They wouldn't say anything against Gaza. Because the minute you say Gaza, they'll say, did you see 7 of October? Did you see how they killed the babies? Did you see that? That's it. That's their revenge. So what can I say?
So
I can make only films, and the film speaks my mind.
So we'd like to open it up for questions, and maybe as we're passing along the mic, just one more comment about something that Nurit told me before when we were speaking, that actually the battlefield that these women exist in is a very sanitized battlefield. So they are in the back, and they are kind of in the command centers, so even if they are paramedics, there isn't a way where they actually legitimately are not seeing some of these things that we are seeing every day. Anyway.
Of course. First, congratulations on producing this amazing film. I actually study a lot the inclusion of women in militaries is an area of expertise for me. So when I saw your movie, I told my husband, we have to come and see this, because it's really impressive that Israel is actually around the world considered one of the countries that have included women in the military. And after October 7, you see even Israel taking additional steps to include them in combat roles, both for the issue of gender equality, promoting more gender equality in the army, but also for operational necessity. And nevertheless, you also see that despite of all those efforts and the country being portrayed, among others, which is an area that I study on advancing gender equality in the military, you also see that, that's a lot of steps that the country still needs to take to ensure that the inclusion is really, done in an accountable way to the soldiers, right? And my question to you is, do you expect that your movie, which, is very poignant and to make me think a lot, of course, and very, very touching, do you think that it will generate some sort of debate in the Israeli society or help influence the Defense Ministry and its authorities to change potentially retention policies, pre-deployment or post-deployment policies to ensure that they are more responsive to the woman's needs and to ensure that, when they are redeployed, they are not over-traumatized again after all of this, because that would be an amazing impact if your movie could help us achieve that. And congratulations again, it's a superb documentary.
Thank you very much. To your question, I don't believe that films change anything. You know, people can watch films, understand, but it's not the government or the policy of the security. No. I make films for the people. And you can make your own conclusion. And if you write, you can write wherever you want. But I don't believe that my films, and I did really very profound films about war, okay? But nothing has been changed.
I will note one thing on this very interesting question that you might know is that the American government actually changed its policy in regards to sexual harassment in the military thanks to a movie that was made on the topic and had a huge impact. So I still believe in films.
We have a question here.
Yes, thank you. Hello. I was very, very interested and a little bit taken by your last statement on the film where it said, is it ethical to send women back into, when they're experiencing, PTSD, back into battle? And I guess for me, I looked at it and said, is it ethical to send anybody back, not specifically women? So I was just curious if there was a specific point to that, or there's a difference of sending male versus female back with this type of condition?
Since my film deals with women, so that was the question that I asked, okay? Why should they go back and forth, doing 500 days or 600 days? But I explained it from the beginning. That's Israel. That's the girls in Israel. And you can interview 14 years old or 16 years old. That's what you'll hear. We are going to the army, not just to the army. We want to be in the battlefield. We want to be warriors, the real warriors, the real killers. That's what they'll tell you.
And the people have their own self-determination, and the Israeli people have a lot of resilience. So also, just to make a comment.
Ma'am, you want to hold on a second? And actually, we're going to do this this whole conversation. If you don't have a microphone, please don't speak. Thank you.
Sure, sorry. So to comment on what you said, I think your film really, truly helped these people recover, that they were able to speak about their experiences, and that is part of the recovery. I think the beautiful thing about young people is that they no longer think of therapy as a stigma, where that used to be in different days.
That's right.
Yeah. Another question, because I am a psychotherapist and I studied at Yeshiva University. Some of the research that you wanted when I studied, I learned at Yeshiva University in terms of interventions and coping mechanisms that also studied the Israeli society. So if you need, maybe I could help you get that research.
No, excuse me. Did you read any paper from Israeli?
I have to go look back because it's been.
No, there is not.
But there was. Well,
Because I spoke with the very dominant professors who deals with trauma and war, and the lady, her name is Professor Ayelet Ariel, that's her name, and she's very known. She's from Ben Gurion University, and she told me that right now they're going to do a work on that, and she really appreciates me doing the film, blah, blah,
Sure.
and all the rest, but there is no.
I understand what you mean now. You meant further into the war. I was talking about that they were using people, studies from Israel on a different level in terms of interventions and different type of therapy. But they did note Israeli society. I could look it up for you.
And maybe just a comment that rates of PTSD in women warriors are much higher than in men warriors.
I will jump in with one more comment here that it was before October 7th, there was a film at the Haifa Film Festival that we were able to see that was about PTSD treatment being developed in Israel specifically for women, because the whole treatment was developed for men and for male soldiers since World War I, when the term came into play. And it was actually they were working on a completely different treatment to serve women, and then of course once October 7th happened, it turned into a whole bigger question, and a bigger picture, and the film almost like disappeared. We got a question up there.
Hi, I just got back yesterday from leading a feminist women's journey to Israel, and I'm left after this movie with two thoughts. One, the Gaza issue looms large that it wasn't mentioned, so thank you for raising that, Tamara. But the question I'm left with is, and I don't know what my feminist brain wants to tell me on this after watching this, is there now going to be a debate in Israel about whether women should go into combat or not? And if there was a comparative study between women and men, what would it look like? Because what this film says to me is that there's a disproportionate emotional reaction, but it may not be true. What I do know from my meetings all week with feminists in Israel is that, yes, number one, they're totally against the war. Number two, they're totally against their government. And number three, they want to increase the mental health care for women who have been serving. And there's a lot of work going on in that. And we met with the professor you just mentioned.
I don't know what to answer you, okay? Really, if I want to be straight. I don't think this, I mean, that the film will make any difference between women who want to serve or not to serve, because they see themselves equal to soldiers. It's not negotiable. And it's the first time that I came with this story, okay? So I don't know what happened in other operations, because up to now women were not allowed inside the battlefield. They were also always on the border. You understand what I mean? They were not, they call it like a supporter, warrior supporter, but they are not inside. This was the first time that they were inside. What I heard from one of the offices that deals with recruiting the women, that like they recruited 30,000 women, and around 1,200 were inside Gaza. Most of them were doctors, paramedics, because 3 of the soldiers here in the film are paramedics, and the rest were operation officers. So that's what I was told, but I don't know more than that. Yes.
We could take a question here.
Can you take from
Okay.
Take one here, and I'll take one.
Okay. Well,
Thank you so much for this amazing film. I have 2 questions. One is, at certain points, it was hard for me to watch. And I found my mind like not staying with it, and then I'd have to sort of force my mind to stay with it. And I'm wondering, how did you stay with this material for so long? Like, what gave you the capacity and the strength to keep looking at this and keep asking about it? And the other question is, and I'm not sure that you clarified this, so if you did, excuse me, is if you don't believe this film will make a difference, I'm not sure that's exactly what you said, then what is the film for? What's your goal in making it?
I don't make films to change policy. I don't believe in that. I do it for the people. I want people to watch it, and if there are people who write, articles, newspapers, anything, so it's a free country. You can write whatever you want. And maybe if people would write more about it, saying more about it, then it can be changed. I don't know. But it all depends on me. I can tell you one more thing that we didn't speak, that the military censorship, it was a big issue with the film because they wanted to keep an eye on the girls, so they didn't know if to allow their faces to be shown. At the end of they decided that the film will be broadcast only once, so you can't watch it in Israel on YouTube or on, they have especially YouTube on Channel 11, so they decided against it, and the pictures that you saw of the girls without the faces. I mean, while they are with the military, so that was the decision.
Hi, I'm sorry. I wanted to ask, because they talked about casualties in the film, how many women have been either killed or wounded in this wars, or in these wars? Or is that known?
No, in all the numbers that came out, they didn't distinguish between men and women. I mean, from the army, you ask? No, I don't know. It never came. No.
We have time for one more question, and I see a very anxious hand up there. Usually that's not a good sign, so it better be good. We're passing you the mic.
I hate to have this be the last question, but thank you for the film, and the war scenes were very powerful. I wanted to ask you how you decided not to include any pictures of Gazans.
Okay, you want the real answer? Okay. The story is about PTSD on women warriors. So if you think that it goes what's going on in Gaza, that's a different story. That's not my story. Although in my mind or my belief, I'm against the war, I'm against the occupation, so that's it. But not in this film. The film is not about Gaza now.
Thank you so much. I want to give a big round of applause for Nurit. Tamara, thank you so much.